Before this video starts, guys, please bear in mind that it's a first impressions video. This is the first time I've seen this aircraft in the simulator. The developer has a very bad reputation, and a lot of this aircraft is borrowing systems from a default free aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Make sure you watch to the very end and stay tuned for any other thoughts we have on this particular aircraft. Enjoy the video. Hi everyone, my name is George from the FlightSim Hub, and today we're going to have a fairly unedited video of my first impressions of the FlightSim Boeing 777 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Now, I installed the product last night, and I actually got it in the sale on Marketplace at the moment, the holiday sale. The actual savings overall, I think, was only about £4 or £5 British pounds. But for us, it does make sense for content, because as far as I'm aware, and from what I've read about the FlightSim 777, whilst the cockpit does use a lot of the Azobo Boeing 747-8 systems, the outside modelling would work perfectly fine for particular videos which include a 777. And for example, if we were recreating some air traffic control recordings, we wanted to share it with you and visualise it in the simulator, the amount of cockpit footage used really doesn't matter a great deal. It's mostly outside shots, so it was worth it for us. So I did load in yesterday with the 777 just briefly to make sure the installation had worked correctly. I didn't want to end in a scenario where it hadn't worked and then I couldn't get a refund for the product for whatever reason. So I have spawned in with it once, but we're going to do the same thing today. We're going to spawn at Manchester, just to help with the frame rate a little bit whilst I do record this and also record my voice live. There's no script to this video. Before we jump in, I will take a quick look at the livery. So the only one you get is the one that you purchase, if that makes sense. So this is the 777-300ER with the General Electric 11.5B engines. There was the Pratt & Whitney engines, I believe, on the 300 and the Rolls-Royce engines on the 300 as well. But yeah, it appears the extended range has just got the General Electrics. Not too well versed with the 777s in real life. It's not an airliner that I particularly follow a great deal, and I've never been on one myself. Having a look at the liveries, it looks like we've got the house livery. Not sure why you want that unless you were potentially creating an advertisement for FlightSim. British Airways, American Airlines, Qatar, Emirates, Japan Airlines, Air Canada, Air France, Air New Zealand, KLM, and United Airlines. So not a terrible number of liveries there. Haven't actually gone online to see if there's many other ones that have been created for this particular product. I'm going to stop the video right there because I remembered something during the edit. FlightSim did attempt to sue creators for publishing liveries on FlightSim.To. They said that it must go through their aircraft configuration software, so they've received a legal takedown request, and there's also been some reports of the fact that they've stolen the liveries and they're trying to sell them and put them into the aircraft. So I wanted to mention that, and it's one of the reasons I think that FlightSim's got such a bad reputation nowadays. As soon as we're starting in the UK, we will go with British Airways aircraft. Now, because this is using the default 747-8 systems, I'd imagine that the weight and balance and fuel planning will be done natively in the simulator. Furthermore, I'd also imagine that the routing will also come from the simulator. So unlike PMDG, where if you chuck a route in, it's not going to bring it through from into the FMC. You have to actually go and create one yourself. I think it'd be fairly easy to generate flights in this, which, to be fair, makes it good for a beginner. I don't think there's any additional failures in here. No, there isn't. It's just the same ones that you get in the standard flight simulator. Okay, so I've just had a little play around with some of the desktop audio system settings there, just to make sure I can actually hear the aircraft, but you guys can't through my microphone. First impressions of this bit here. Obviously it looks good because it's in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, doesn't look too bad actually. Just have a look. It's slightly awkward APU there on the back. Again, I have to compare that to a real image of a 777. Yeah, all in all, not too bad, especially from a distance. So if we hit ready to fly, it should just spawn us on 23 left at Manchester, and yeah, we'll have a little look. Yeah, I mean, immediately you've got this is the 747-8I's default system here. Weirdly enough, I actually thought that the Flight Channel used this model for a lot of their air disaster recreations. Obviously, they used PMDG in the past, before Flight Simulator 2020 was around, but I did think that they used this model, but that does look slightly different. Again, I'll have to go and check that. This is totally unedited, unfiltered. And immediately, I think this looks okay. You can tell it's from the Azoba, but I'd definitely see past that. The primary issue that I've got here is this here. I am not a developer, so I can't comment on how hard it would have been to remove these here. But furthermore, if I'm not mistaken, the Boeing 777 doesn't have this type of engine instrument indicating. I thought I had one more akin to a Boeing 757. Again, I'd imagine I'm probably going to fact check myself a number of times in this video during the actual edit. So they're my first direct impressions. Now, to be perfectly honest, I think my thoughts have been a little bit skewed because in the forums on Reddit and Facebook for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, Captain Sim's got an incredibly bad reputation for their aircraft models for reusing the default systems and selling these aircraft. I have to say, other than that, the cockpit does look quite detailed. If you sold this product on something like FS10 or X-Plane at the price it's at, I'm not entirely sure people would have the same reactions. Yeah, then again, there's a lot of inoperative systems on here actually. Yeah. So I can open that. Oh, fuel valves, yeah, equipment cooling. Yeah, I mean, on closer inspection, there's a lot that you can't clear. I think that the primary issue with this aircraft is in back in the day, and this is slightly contradictory of what I said earlier on before I had a look at the overhead panel and a lot of the inoperative systems, is that it probably would have been sold as freeware on FS10. There was plenty of developers out there who would take default systems and they would put them into aircraft. There was all sorts. There was a 757 with 737 systems, but they modelled the rest of the cockpit. And with the PMDG 777 in development, it's a difficult purchase. I mean, obviously the price point of that will be a lot higher, but if you're going to go ahead and you're going to spend upwards of nearly £20 when it's not on sale on this aircraft, when the PMDG might only be, say, 60, it makes it a bit more of a difficult purchase outside of the use case of pure content creation, or maybe an absolute beginner who just wants a 777 to play it as a game. Seems to be using the 747's sound pack, to be honest. It might be worth me taking the 747 just for a short flight as well to see if there's any real difference. It's not an aircraft I've flown very often in this simulator. As you want, and rotate. From what I can remember, my first payware aircraft was a Captain Sim 757, and that was fantastic. From the alarms, from the replication of all the systems, and someone who worked at Captain Sim, or possibly even found that it was actually a 757-76 captain himself. It's still got the horrible landing gear warning sound. I don't seem to be getting any form of stall warning there. It rockets up. It's a very long aircraft. I mean, I would have to go back and I would have to fly the PMDG 777. But to me, it feels like it is using the 747. It's borrowed a lot of the 747's characteristics. So I did attempt to land the 777. I actually skipped the duration of the flight. I didn't want to sit for 20 minutes when I was just trying to make a first impressions video. To be honest, yeah, it flies like the Boeing 747-8 on landing in the simulator. And as I said before, it's inherited most, if not all, of the flight characteristics of the default model of the 747-8. So once again, it goes back to that same thing. I think the use case for this is primarily content creation, and I'm on the fence about suggesting it for beginners now at the end of this video. On one side of it, I do want to say, look, if you just want to play the simulator as a game and you want a 777, then go for it. On the other side, I'm looking at Reddit posts and I'm thinking, well, it's very hated in the community, and Captain Sim as a whole are very hated in the community. So do I want to actually suggest to people that they should buy this aircraft? I think that I'm probably going to say no. on the basis that the PMDG simulations aircraft is hopefully, fingers crossed, right around the corner for the simulator. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment below with your thoughts. This is a pretty different type video to what we'd usually do. As I said, it's pretty much fully unedited, other than a few little bits that I cut out of the flight, for example, when we skipped something. Didn't want to leave those in. My overall thoughts are, as I've mentioned a few times now, I genuinely wouldn't buy this aircraft. We will continue to make content with it, and if our opinions do change, we'll make additional videos. But with the PMDG simulations 777 around the corner, I think this only really makes sense for people who are doing content creation, or if someone's just desperate to have a 777 in the simulator. Thanks ever so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.